Hello and welcome to The Beast that is Season 3 of Rose Guns Days. Will we finish the season today? I don't know. I hope so. Not because I'm not having a good time, but because I don't really have a good reason at this point. I just keep expecting it to end and then it doesn't. That's it, that's all. Still, we're on season 3 right now. And, speaking of, yeah, let's just dive right into the content warning, which, has remained unchanged for most of this season so far, which is good for us, good for me. So I'll just run it off again? Well, that's not a thing that you say, I don't think. I think I just made that up. I don't think that's even a thing that you say in Dutch. I don't know where that came from. I will just rattle it off, I think I was trying to say. We'll just go through it. As a reminder. Content warning for this season of Rose Guns Days. There will potentially be violence, gun violence, sexual content including mention of assault, misogyny, alcohol abuse, and mental health issues like trauma and depression, also mentions of human trafficking. So just so you know what you're getting into. Okay, now with that part discussed, mentioned, handled, let me quickly scroll down here because oh boy, we have quite the summary to get through because last episode was extremely long. I think it was almost 4 hours, and I've not done an episode that long in literally, no joking, like 2 years, if not more. That was a lifetime ago. No, that was definitely more than 2 years ago. Holy, okay. So yeah, long summary needed. So, get comfy or skip it because I don't know, for all I know, you've just watched the previous episode. Up to you. So, last episode on Rose Guns Days, the remaining wandering dogs split up until Zell returns. They did that on purpose so that each of them can work on their skill set and improve, and that way they can surprise Zell if or when she comes back. They're saying, when, but the if is sort of unspoken and hanging in the air, like maybe she'll never come back again. We don't know, they don't know, but they're hoping that they'll see her again. In the modern day, Jeanne is wrapping up her retelling of events to Julie. Julie is then escorted home by Toratsugu, who is a bodyguard who looks like a carbon copy of Wayne, and I'm sticking to the order of my own summary here. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. He reveals that he's been assigned to guard her, as her interviews with Jeanne may put her in danger, because, well, Jeanne's the head of a mafia family. He's even going to be working at the same news agency, which Julie hates. 6 months later, there's a big time skip. 6 months later, he is still there, guarding Julie, making her life miserable by a variety of antics. At this point, though, Jeanne finally has time for another interview. It's been 6 months since their last interview, during which they briefly discuss Primavera's current instability, which is caused by rumors that Jeanne is writing her will through Julie. Toratsugu even suspects that Jeanne wants Julie to pick a successor for her, even though Jeanne herself denies it. If anything, she's been encouraging the rumors herself to weed out disloyal Primavera members, so she's using the rumors that stem from her being interviewed by Julie to just deal with any, people who are not worth her time. They have a little chat. Julie's kind of picking up what Rose has been putting down in these stories and resolves to not just listen to the story as a journalist, as an interviewer, but also as one of the future countrymen that Rose keeps mentioning, right? So, since she's far ahead in the future compared to Rose, she's the target. She's Rose's ideal in a way. And then John continues talking. During her story, we meet two new characters, Keith and Alan. Keith is a sniper supported by Alan, who is also known as Alan the Brawler. Both of them are working for Maurice as part of Primavera, and then they're asked to take care of, big air quotes there, a problem for Butler. Meanwhile, Alan is attempting to get close to Yuki, who's a young woman starting up a new business. We're off to a great start. Yuki hates 3 types of people: Mafia, people who enjoy fighting, and people who enjoy fighting. No, that was so bad. Hold up. It's Mafia, people who enjoy fighting, and people who are both of those things. Alan is all 3 of those things. So his attempt to get closer involves a lot of lying, as you can imagine. While they're off doing their own thing, Rose and Richard are attempting to recover their countrymen's economical situation by getting Japanese merchants to band together. A man named Davis Egawa is trying to undermine their attempts, and he's quite successful at that. So together with Butler, Richard decides there is only one solution. That is, get rid of Egawa. And that turns out to be the problem Alan and Keith are asked to resolve. And then we end on a bombshell, which is that Yuki, the girl that Alan's trying to get close to, is actually Meiju's sister. And therefore in Mafia, and therefore maybe potentially kind of a hypocrite. Well, she's not I guess, per se, maybe necessarily. Who knows? It sounds a little like she's left and she's come back. So I guess we'll find out what the exact details on that are right now. If I can find my save game. Hello? Hey, James Tomitake. Long time no see. How have you been? I hear you're doing well, James. What do you say, since it's been so long? Dinner? My treat? Oh, no. I think I'll pass. I have such sensitive skin, you know? Spend too much time under the sun and it swells up all red. Lately, my skin's been getting even worse. The doctor's even forbidden me to drink or exercise. It was a total lie. The desk right next to him was covered with empty alcohol bottles. Though, I hear you've been pretty active for all that. Huh? Where'd you get that, huh? Not at all. My body's so frail. When it came to speaking in an annoying way, Davis had no equal. In the dim, hideout-like underground room, Davis stuck the cigarette he'd been smoking into a pile of cigarette butts, laughing obnoxiously. He played the unpleasant fool, but his senses were frighteningly sharp. He was already aware that people were after his life, so he was lying low. Well, I did hear you'd started up an amusing business lately. Amusing? Oh, that's a misunderstanding. You got the wrong idea, don't you? I heard Madame Rose was working really hard to get that association started. I've been helping out in my own way. Oh, is that so? After all, that Primavera Whatever Distribution Association won't start unless everyone pitches in. So I thought it'd be important to start influencing opinions. Influencing opinions. I see. Seems everyone has their own thoughts, but it'd get messy if resentment started to creep in after the association was established, right? I thought, if I uncovered the unsatisfied elements and opinions beforehand, that'd help Madame Rose as well. What a gutless thing to say when you're setting up your own opposing faction. Even James, who was a relatively genial person, had to crush his cigarette to hold back his irritation. So then, are you influencing opinions as a volunteer or as a businessman? As a volunteer, of course. I wouldn't do something this troublesome if you asked me. You see, I'm satisfied by quietly handling behind-the-scenes work, even if no one tells me to or thanks me later. I guess you could say I'm not used to receiving praise. Well, being unable to handle sunlight's also to blame. Didn't it used to be that your organs were weak? You even bragged about getting a tan on your yacht with that American woman. Nah, you're just remembering it wrong. I was born with weak skin. It really is a pain. So, before I remember it wrong again, let's talk business. Business? Oh, but I'm really busy right now. My schedule's packed until the year after next. But I can at least hear what you have to say. I lost my window. I lost my window. Okay, found it. I want to buy your volunteer work. Primavera will directly handle influencing opinions in the opposing faction. So, I want you to cease your involvement in this matter. Nah, but I can do it better than you guys. All the others feel threatened by you mafia types, so they don't want to deal with you directly. I think you'd better leave this to me, a veteran negotiator with connections on both sides. Hey, Davis. You'll never make money off this without going through me eventually, right? How could someone as hated as you profit off this without going through me? That's pretty cruel, calling me hated. I've got tons of friends and acquaintances. Well, hear me out. The seeds you've planted have grown nicely. It's about time for the harvest. And also, I'd like to resolve this quickly and put Cyrus in my debt. Would you make a deal for 1 million Japanese dollars? I'll negotiate with the higher-ups. They say they won't go any higher than that. I'm happy with taking 20%. I'll deposit $800,000 in the account of your choice. How does that sound? Sounds pretty nice. A win-win deal for us two. Now that's the sort of business I'm talking about. But I owe a lot to you, and have for a long time. It wouldn't feel right to leave you with a mere $200,000 share. Oh? You were worried about my share? You see, I put the people who help me before my own well-being. I'm sorry, but that's my policy. Then again, it's thanks to this concern for my friends that people rely on me so much. On the other end of the line, James finally chewed through his cigarette. At any rate, no one could hold a candle to this man when it came to ticking people off. Why don't we increase your share even more? Well, the bigger it is, the happier I am. So, how much? Forget 200,000. Why don't we make it 2 million? I think you deserve that much money. 2 million. Now there's a magnificent sum. So, you want to split that between the two of us? No. 2 million is your share. After all, you were going to take 20%, right? Let's try getting 10 million out of Madame Rose. She wants to hurry with the Distribution Association, right? This is according to my acquaintances, but it sounds like the GDS and others are after City 23. The mochis made by Wang Huanghong are still sitting there, uneaten. All that's needed is for someone to pour soy sauce on City 23 and eat it up. Or at least, there's a bunch of mafia big shots in the neighboring cities saying that sort of thing. Oh, but keep this hush-hush. Davis had everything pre-calculated. He was blackmailing Madame Rose after taking full account of her haste. 10 million Japanese dollars was a lot, but it wasn't an impossible sum to pay for hurrying up the distribution network. They wouldn't be able to pay it if it was viewed as succumbing to a threat, but they could pass it off as a negotiation fee or a bribe. Now that Primavera was in the position of trying to dash across a dangerous bridge, it was like a feast waiting to happen for a man like Davis. Okay, I'll try negotiating with that number. But could we at least meet face to face? I want to work out the details with you. What about tonight? No, tonight. Well, about tonight. I'm really sorry. I've got plans, you see. Don't think I'll be available for a while. Really sorry about that. Then, could you at least give me a way to get in touch? The bosses are in a hurry. They want to form a rapid understanding with you. But I really am busy. It's not like I'm always near a phone. I'll contact you tomorrow. Would you be able to give me your answer then? I'm sure Madame Rose will be able to make a quick decision. She's a wise person after all. I'm sure she'll take notice of my hard work. I hate this guy. James was right, he's annoying as hell. Okay. I'll be waiting. Later. James set down the receiver, sank into the sofa, and let out a big sigh. 10 million, huh? The bastard. That man's made too many enemies. He probably plans to leave Tokyo once this is over. What about your end? Have you been able to find his location? Sorry. We set out a net, but no such luck. In that case, we'll have to rely on the wandering dogs, huh? I thought they weren't wandering dogs anymore. What? They're still wandering dogs? What? Bring cold drinks to Charles and the others in the other room. Sounds like they're thinking pretty hard. Boss, who are those brats? I thought Charles was just a trainee dealer. It's true he's good with his hands, but he's got no class or tact. He's not quite up to snuff for the elegance of our hall. He's a poor kid who grew up in the alleys, right? Why is someone like that working here? Huh? Don't tell me you really don't know who that kid is. He's one of the Wandering Dogs, the independent team under the wild dogs that Lincoln trusts most. The backdoor employment agency incident, the soy sauce embezzlement incident, as well as others that led to that feud. The Wandering Dogs were responsible for finding evidence related to all of those. Though they've been pushed back to square one for certain reasons, they were once part of the Consigliere's inner circle, serving as Madame Rose's personal guard. After their many accomplishments, they were given the special honor of participating in the official exec pasta gathering. Even during the Soy Sauce War, they were involved in secret operations and filled a vital role that led Primavera to victory. In what way is Charles Goon of the Wandering Dogs not suitable for Rich Bamboo? This was the first time the three Wandering Dogs had worked together, after splitting up to further their growth following Zell's departure. Wayne had ordered them to join forces. He decided that the only ones who could quickly catch the trail of this troublesome target were those familiar with everything from back alleys to the sewers. And for those three, this became a chance to see how much they had all grown since that day. There was no relaxed atmosphere, no sharing of fond memories at their reunion. Their gazes were serious, filled with determination to meet the expectations of the man they still respected as their only boss. He's in trouble with the GDS too, so we don't need to worry about Chinatown.
They say he set a net around the luxury restaurants he likes, but he's never showed up.
You see. So, he realizes he's the kind of villain people want dead.
Running away and hiding are totally different things. His job's not over yet. He'll be inside City 23. It's the one thing we know for sure.
The table was covered with a mass of maps and bits of information. They analyzed that information from multiple angles, using the census date honed since that day. During this 1 year, they had grown spectacularly. When Zell returned one day, they wanted to be able to rebuild the Wandering Dogs team. We've got our fellow rats throughout the city searching. Not a single clue.
That can't be right. It's impossible to hide in the back streets without any of the rats catching wind of it.
Yeah. In other words, he isn't in an alley, a cheap hotel, or a sewer. We can rely on them. Since they can't find him, that proves he isn't anywhere that rats go.
Oh? Sounds like the lone wolf Oliver's gotten pretty used to trusting people.
Shut up. During this past year, Oliver had learned how to handle people from Wayne. Not how to give people overwhelming orders. Instead, it was how to ask people to do things. You say that like Wayne knows this. I don't think Wayne has ever displayed any kind of knowledge of this. I'm sorry, it's dunk on Wayne o'clock again. But I just don't buy it. Maybe he knows so he can explain it to others, and he just doesn't. That's what he preaches. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just so anti-Wayne at this point that I've missed some of his growth. If so, I'm sorry. But not that sorry. For example, no kind of training can subtly double your strength. But if you ask for help, you can double your fighting force easily. In fact, you can multiply your strength by 10 or 20 by gathering people. Oliver realized that this was the next skill he needed to gain after fighting and handling guns. So, Oliver began to imitate Wayne and share his wages with alley orphans. That accumulated experience of negotiation with people was slowly erasing Oliver's once fierce lone wolf soul.
Rich people are really good at sniffing out people of their class.
In other words,
He's managed to trick leaders of an affluent merchants alliance. He's gotta be dressed pretty nice. So he's gotta be neat, with a sense of cleanliness.
in other words, oh, that wasn't Oliver.
In other words, he won't be hiding in some moldy hole. He'll need a shower, a closet, a dresser. And there'll be some place where he wouldn't stand out when he walks around all fancy.
I see. So, we've got to search uptown, not downtown.
The captain's been investigating for us too, but it looks like this guy's not being backed by the American military. So, the person hiding him isn't in the American military or Chinatown, but still has enough money. Yeah, I've been looking around too. That sort of loner villain who craves the limelight will die if he doesn't have a woman who will accept him.
Will die if he doesn't have a woman who will accept him. A woman, huh?
Probably a luxury girl who works alone and lives in a hotel. That narrows down the possibilities a lot.
Oliver wasn't the only one who'd grown. Both Charles and Nina had grown in their own ways. Charles had worked in James's casino, observing all kinds of rich people, from high society types to new money. And he had also started studying how to act so that they would accept him. He was still a rough blade, though his coworkers laughed at how funny he looked. However, studying the world furthest from their alley origins would surely become a powerful weapon. Nina returned to being a lady of the evening, using her cheery nature to expand her personal connections. Bullying by her seniors at work had annoyed and discouraged her, but her character was naturally suited to being a lady of the evening. She was now using her distinctive style of speech as a weapon to show off her personality as she spread her network across the world of the evening. Zell would come back someday. They were totally focused on being able to surprise her when that day came, but they continued to hone their skills enthusiastically. The music made me think maybe this was like an outro of sorts, but nope, we're still going. Love the music in this game. It's so good. America, China, Japan. It's been a while since we've all gathered together. The war with Caleb feels as though it is something from the distant past. I forgot Yuki's voice a little bit. We'll make it up.
Huh? Why are you speaking Japanese so awkwardly?
No. It would be rude of me to do any less.
So, you're Meiji-san's.
Ah, yes. Please start by introducing this lovely lady. A pleasure to meet you. I'm Captain Philip Butler.
The pleasure's mine, Captain. Your Japanese sounds incredibly native.
And your English was splendid. If only I could greet you in fluent Chinese, this would be perfect.
Pleased to meet you, Madame Rose. My name is Li Meishui.
And she says that in English.
I'll be your unified contact in Chinatown.
There's too many voices in one room. And I should not have gotten a fizzy drink for this because I keep inhaling the bubbles. And I lost my window again.
Nice to meet you, Meishui-san. Still, Meiji-san, you really worked fast.
No, don't. Not. If there is another person in this room, I'm going to scream. I'm not actually going to scream. There's too many voices. Whereas we, the ones who proposed this, still haven't settled our end. It's an embarrassment. When a culture has been protected for over 1,000 years, it can dash over 1,000 miles in a night when the time comes.
Don't worry yourself, Consigliere. It just means we were able to finish organizing our profits quickly. Monetary calculations are a specialty of the Chinese.
When it comes to that, we Americans aren't any worse off. Thanks to Rose-chan's rapid decision-making, those diseased folks who die if they can't keep raking in money manage to sweep the opposing party out of the board of directors. That was such a long sentence. The tyranny of the majority in your US democracy is truly a terrifying thing. Oh, sure. Not that we hold a candle to you guys.
Enough of that, you two. Then again, I think this is how the world should be. If the world only had one rule, you just end up with a class society. A world that exists only to oppress those on the lower rungs. However, when you have two kings with equal power, tyranny only helps your opponent. We can cultivate each other's character and bring peace to the world.
Are you speaking of a Cold War situation?
I guess even a Cold War with both sides pointing nuclear weapons at each other could be called a peaceful one. Walls are only secure when they're supported from both sides and all forces are in equilibrium.
Though it can be hard on the wall that's feeling pressure from both sides. It can be hard on the wall that's feeling pressure from both sides. Like, they're the wall. Like, are they the wall? I'm not sure this metaphor works entirely, but okay. If it's careless enough to lean to either side, the resistance can be fierce.
On the other hand, it gets support from both camps, which seems like a pretty nice position to me. I see all three of us understand the positions we stand in. What we want is stability. We don't want to stand in opposition to anyone.
The US feels the same. At the very least, we don't approve of trouble breaking out in City 23. It is the same for us. We truly hope our respective groups of comrades can interact peacefully. Of course, they were whitewashing the issue. They all felt the expectations of their respective camps. Butler couldn't afford to overlook the encroachment of Chinatown anymore. The Americans wanted to get involved proactively, offering attractive deals so that Japanese merchants didn't get won over by Chinatown. As for Meiji, he wanted to make it known that Chinatown wanted peace. Even without war, Chinatown could use its vibrant knack for expansion to steadily grow its territory, just as it had been doing. Primavera was scheming to have America and China to compete with each other, while they got juicy deals from both sides. If things went bad, He'd be fated to get crushed underfoot by these giants. However, that's the path the minority must tread. They had to constantly convince both sides that the Japanese were too sweet a prize to give up to their opponents. Originally, Primavera had wanted to use this meeting to announce that all their preparations had been completed. However, Davis's intervention had thrown the voting for the Distribution Association into chaos. By the regulations of their alliance, the establishment of an association couldn't happen without a 2/3 majority vote. They were businessmen, not members of the criminal underworld, so it was necessary to resolve things democratically according to their rules. Of course, there were quite a few discontented people. However, they had kept their opinions to themselves, afraid of getting involved with the mafia. The plan had been to take the vote and then wait as this potential unsatisfied element gradually gave up. Davis had fired them up, gathered them together, and turned them into a faction. He had basically given them a blank check to act, spreading the word that he had ties to the underworld, the occupying forces, and would get them a favorable deal. Partly because of Primavera's drop in reputation after the soy sauce war, a group of the merchants agreed and accepted Davis's terms. It was unsure whether he had gathered enough people to change the outcome of the vote. However, by its very nature, the City 23 Distribution Association couldn't exist without the support of all merchants in the Japanese colony. Even if the vote passed, every member of the group that lost the vote would become a source of problems in the future. If they left Davis be, the seeds of discord would grow and grow. They had to eliminate him as quickly as possible.
Do you think it'll still take a while to convince him?
That is my responsibility. We will convince Mr. Davis Degawa.
I'm sure he'll understand if you talk to him. I'm counting on you.
Oh, Rose, you're gonna be so disappointed. Leave this to me and forget it. You're gonna be so disappointed. After erasing Davis, they would leak that he was a famous swindler of the underworld who had been making plots surrounding the association. The merchants were fundamentally cowards. They were only able to rebel because they had Davis guarding their backs. If he disappeared, they would spin like a weather vane and support the association immediately.
All of you who have gathered here, before we begin our discussion, I would like to welcome a new member to this conference.
It's gonna be another person in the room, I just know it. Too many people in this room, too many voices. No objections here. No objections here. Christ, Battler. It's not Battler, it's Butler. At least Battler had the excuse of being 18, you know? Or 19, not 18. He had the excuse of being a teenager. What's Butler's excuse? The more boobies, the better, he says. I can't do it. It annoys me so much. He's so annoying. And look at his face, it's so punchable. Moving on. I have no objections either. It has been too long, Stellason. Stella, please take a seat. She's got her cool little cape thing on. She doesn't always have that, right? Am I crazy? I don't think she had that last time we saw her.
Pleased to meet you, everyone. Meshwison, let me introduce you. This is Stella Mayogi. From now on, she will be handling this deal, along with Conciliator Richard.
And then Stella, I assume, greets Meshwa in Chinese. And they talk, and I don't know what they're saying. Still, it's a bit sad. Stella-chan, are you really quitting your job at the club?
It won't be a complete retirement right away. I'd like to gradually shift my focus to this realm, learning as I go.
The connections and speaking techniques she's learned through the club will become her weapons. After all, here we resolve all problems by talking, while also pointing guns at each other.
I plan to work hard so I can quickly stand on my own and assist Madame Rose.
Stella Mayogi had decided to quit her job as a lady of the evening. To Richard, the decision had seemed sudden, but of course she had reached this conclusion after a long time thinking in her own way. There's too many voices. We haven't seen Meryl in ages, so I'm happy to see her.
What? You're quitting? It's true that you've been getting more wrinkles lately, but it's still nothing that you can't cover with makeup. Don't worry.
Thanks for trying to stop me. I'm serious.
Really? Oh, what? Is it time to pay the piper or something?
Something like that. You're right. I'm getting on in years. I've lived as I pleased. Unable to pronounce words. Uninterested in anyone but myself. But now I'm at an age where I can't do that.
So, it's time for Granny to retire. Now this club's mine.
Ladies of the evening usually retire when they're tired of the job or get a man. But Meryl didn't think Stella fit either of those cases. Stella had always enjoyed using her body to skillfully toy with men and rake in the dough. However, Meryl vaguely understood. Stella's change of heart had begun the day Rose fainted. We know how hard Rose has worked all along, know it better than anyone else. She quelled the ladies' factional struggles, united Primavera, and suddenly became their representative after being dragged into a fight with Mafia. By now, she cared for all of her countrymen, not just ladies of the evening, and continued to work without rest. Furthermore, Conciliator Richard was Stella's big brother. She must have heard more than anyone about the urgent matters that always surrounded Primavera, leaving no room for rest.
Do you remember? Remember that day when we were chased by Caleb's bunch and escaped into the rain? I remember. That day, we accepted that girl as our madam, and we swore to each other to support her.
They acknowledged the heavy burden Rose bore, rose up together, swore to support her. They took up guns along with Rose, and threw themselves into the fight against the Caleb family. Then, the Caleb family crumbled, and peace came to City 23. After that, the Primavera family was formed, and we gained stability as ladies of the evening.
Protecting a workplace for ladies of the evening was a big accomplishment for us. That's right. A big accomplishment. But Rose didn't stop there. She kept on, moving forward. And what about us? Did we move forward with her and try to support her? We didn't do anything. We just watched Rose from behind and enjoyed the peace she'd given us. Ever since the fight against Caleb ended, we haven't done anything to support that girl. When Rose fainted, I finally realized, when that girl's gone, everything will end. The resilience needed to be Madam isn't something that came to her naturally. We just promoted her because she was good at dealing with factions. You're right. If we knew Primavera would have turned out like this, it might have been better to choose someone like Amanda.
I mean, Amanda was Madam for a bit. It did not go so good.
And yet, she's unable to retreat or even rest. At this rate, something terrible is going to happen. You've thought the same thing, haven't you? Well, yeah. You're smart. You're clever, you're good at dealing with executive types. In a three-legged race alongside your conciliator brother, you'll probably be able to help Rose's work in many ways. But, sorry, I'm just an idiot who's useless at everything except drinking. The only subject I can brag about having studied is English. During my rebellious phase, I started hating everything about Japan. I studied English like an idiot because I thought it was cool. But I didn't study anything else. I got pissed and deceived and...
Deceived? That's not what that says.
And decided an idiot might as well have their idiocy as a redeeming trait. Now, I finally regret it. If only I'd studied more. Even though my friends are fighting to protect our future, I'm not qualified to join that fight.
Even Meryl couldn't fail to notice that Rose was worn out by her fierce work schedule. However, Meryl didn't have the learning or knowledge to serve in Rose's place. Even looking at numbers made her headache, much less written characters. So she couldn't do anything except pretend not to notice. It was pathetic.
But you can help me. If you supported me, I'd be able to support Rose that much more. Stella, please take care of my girls. Of course, I'll back you. We sort of keep forgetting this, but we're enemies, aren't we? That's right. We threatened each other in the past, saying we'd pull the trigger without hesitation the next time we saw each other's face. I thought we'd end up killing each other someday, but times change. You know what? The times don't really change. You're right. I'm just advances. The only question is whether people can change enough to keep up. When Rose's ideals are achieved, and we've been freed from the responsibility of supporting Primavera, when that happens, I'll settle things with you. Are you promising me a graveyard showdown?
What is wrong with these two? Something wrong with my brain that I'm interpreting this as romantic. But I've heard this exact upcoming line in... You know what? Let's not go there. If you know, you know.
I'm the only one who gets to kill you. That's hilarious. You're gonna get killed by me. Your life is gonna be mine.
See? It's looping, it loops from violence back into romance. I'm not... Please just tell me it's not just me. Without any sort of signal, they brought their fists together at the same time. Then they lightly pressed them together, like a very platonic fist bump. Oh my god. On that day, they took a new first step. When Rose heard, she was happy. She cried out loud. She was already starting to realize that she couldn't make her ideals a reality by her own hand. She needed comrades to support each other. Comrades to inherit their struggles. Rose decided to accept Stella's and Meryl's determination. And so, what was once a three-way feud over the position of Primavera's madam finally ended. Amanda lost her position, and Stella retired. The last to remain was Meryl. Madam Meryl. When people called her that, she smiled wryly and retired that title. By now, Madam wasn't a name to be used by a leader of ladies of the evening. That name was meant for one who led City 23, no, led her countrymen into the future. Hey, who is it? Aw, it's Davis. You didn't call me last night. Now I'm angry. Sorry about that. I'm always so busy with work, you know? Got suddenly called in by the GHQ. MacArthur keeps pestering me to become his advisor. Dang. And General Young asked me to do the same thing just last week. It's tough being popular. Oh wow, Davis. It's so incredible that even General MacArthur trusts you. Hey, by the way, when do we leave on that cruise around the world? I'll bet it's packed with celebrities. I'd like a whole bunch of nice dresses so I can fit in. I'll be finishing a huge job really soon. Then I'll have my hands on a lot of money. I'll pack it into an attaché case and then I'm off to see the world. Hey, let's have a party to celebrate before we go. We can open the best champagne. Let's do that at a different hotel. Pack your bags. My woman can't live in a beat-up hotel like that one for long. Oh, I was thinking the same thing. The service here is terrible. Boo. I'll come for you tomorrow evening. Get yourself all dressed up and wait for me. Bingo. Nina had used human wave tactics. What are those? I'm sure they'll explain in a second, but what are those? Human wave tactics to wiretap all women under suspicion. However, she'd had her eye on this woman in particular. Most of the women who took customers on their own and lived in hotels were high-class girls. Obviously, their customers were all high-class as well, and they could tell those customers apart by their atmosphere and appearance. However, Davis was a liar and a show-off. He couldn't possibly have tricked any of the high-class girls, which meant it made more sense to suspect girls who worked alone for some different reason. Someone who wasn't cooperative, who had left the protection of an organization. A person who might swallow Davis's lies, with more ambition than brains, and who lived in a hotel. Nina narrowed her list down to women who fulfilled these conditions, keeping her net up at all times. Nina removed her headphones and picked up the receiver right away. That is awesome, actually. It's a really clever way to go about it. My apologies for keeping you waiting. You called me during an important conference with the GDS and the occupied forces. I hope your news is happy enough to be worth it.
We've got a lead on that Davis bastard. Our information says he'll be going to meet a girl tomorrow night. Looks like his luck finally ran out.
If he's still alive, then it isn't happy news yet. Erase him immediately.
So, we're on as planned?
Of course. If possible, I would like to end this as a missing person case. Please erase him quietly. If we let it out that he's a swindler who ran off with the money, his sympathizers should be disillusioned. If it got out that he'd been killed by the Mafia, his sympathizers would make a scene about it being Primavera's doing, and the problem would get worse. Erasing him quietly was vastly preferable.
I know. Alan and Keith won't start a war. There's just gonna be one quiet gunshot.
But what about his woman? Don't. I know. No, come on.
We can figure out some way to quiet the hotel, but what if the woman makes a fuss?
Richard, don't do this to me. Why even ask? Simply add the sound of another gunshot.
Richard.
I know they're like Mafia, I know this, but come on, man. If you time this right, she's just gonna be another one of the people who's gonna be like, oh wow, he lied to all of us and then fucked off, you know? Easy peasy. That would be so much easier, and then you don't have to add another dead body to the list. And, you know, she hasn't done anything wrong. She's kind of not very clever, that's all. That's not a crime. I know these two are the criminals, but come on. There are limits.
Figured you'd say that.
All factors that impede Rose's work must be eliminated without mercy. Yeah, okay, where are you gonna draw the line then, huh? It's like, yes, we must secure a future for our fellow countrymen our future countrymen. So we're just gonna kill all the current ones, it's fine. Like, come on.
Oh, even the great Richard's now able to say terrifying things without a cue card.
Okay. Moving on. I see. When words like that accumulate, they can become thorns that torment you. With your words, I can understand the pain Rose has had to suffer.
Sorry about that. I'll stop making jokes. Hey, did you get word to Alan and Keith?
They're already at the location. Something's gonna go horribly wrong. And then we're gonna see someone pop up who has like a unique, sprite. That's my guess. I might be wrong, but that's what I think is gonna happen.
Phew, talk about a lonely street. I like it. Let's set up on this street. Around that building looks pretty good, right? I'd give it a 70. But if there's nowhere better, that'll probably do.
The pair of them decided to set up in front of David's Woman's Hotel. The lonely street in front of that cheap hotel was dark, and hardly anyone passed through it at night. A gunfight might be a different story, but the residents would probably assume they misheard it if a single gunshot went off. That's why you don't want to add another corpse to the list. Hello? 2 gunshots is... that's danger. Like, come on. And depending on, like, even a single gunshot's gonna be... like, those are hard to mishear. They do have the benefit of having a sniper, so it's long distance, I guess. There would be less noise, I assume. I don't know how loud they are. Still, sucks for that girl. The man she's waiting for ain't gonna show up.
It's possible she'll be waiting outside with her trunk. If that happens, then
too bad for her. Oh, so she might get away. Okay. Guess we can only pray that doesn't happen. They left their car and comrades to wait in the next alley over. Once the sniping was over, the others would quickly retrieve the corpse. They would throw it into the car's trunk and let the disposal team handle the rest. We're counting on you, Oliver-kun, and the wild dogs. That's the wrong guy. Moving on. Understood.
You can come out as soon as you hear gunfire. Try not to get too tense and loiter around, looking suspicious.
Understood. We'll wait here discreetly until we hear gunfire.
Okay. We'll be leaving the grounds of the little kids. Guess it's time for us to get to business.
Where are you planning to shoot from?
Sorry, trade secret.
The sniping location they chose was the roof of a twisted apartment at the end of the street. It was a patchwork building made up of mass-produced inferior goods during the Reconstruction rush. There were hardly any inhabitants, and it was conveniently placed. The distance between the location and the front of the hotel was a bit over 200 meters. That distance was hardly a problem for Keith's skill. Would the target's keen instincts be able to sniff out a gun barrel pointing at him from 200 meters away? That's all there was to this contest.
Okay, let's set up camp here.
This could be a long one. Be ready to stay holed up for about a week. Alan set down the heavy-looking bag he had been carrying. Inside were food and drink. They really were planning to spend several days on the ceiling. According to the wiretap, their target would be coming for the woman at 10 tomorrow night. However, this was a tricky customer. There was no guarantee he'd show up at the planned time. He might be heading there right now. Or he might show up several days late. Keith immediately got into sniping position. However, there was no tenseness about him. He looked as calm as someone sticking a fishing rod into a pond. It's not uncommon for snipers to wait several tens of hours for a target. Keith opened the guitar case he had been carrying and took out his work tool. It was a cutting-edge prototype Soviet sniper rifle, which he had obtained through special means. The gun was far lighter than older sniper rifles and well suited for problem erasers. It was superior to older models in all sorts of ways, including round capacity and rapid-fire capabilities. Of course, he didn't intend to merely rely on the advanced capabilities of his gun. It had been remodeled Keith style, down to the smallest details. Naturally, the stock had been shaved down to fit better in his hands, and it was tuned to perfection. The trigger was set so light that a feather could set it off, so as not to get in the way of Keith's animal instincts. The variable scope was adjusted uniquely in a crazy way. No one other than him would be able to use it. Don't point it at people. What's wrong with you? I'm just gonna assume that he didn't actually do that. He had made countless minor modifications to every part of it, which included finding the perfect balance between the weight needed to hold the gun stable and its natural lightness. It was the ultimate customized rifle, fitted to match every one of Keith's needs. He carefully searched for a position it would be easy to shoot from, trying out various postures. Davis would probably arrive by car. However, they didn't know which car. So, every time a car stopped, they would have to check if any of the people getting on or off were the target. In addition, their window for sniping might only be a few seconds long. They were prepared to use those reflexes at any moment in the next 24 hours, possibly longer. Should stay cool for a while. Please don't even use the word cool unless it's Sub-Zero. Oh, right. I did not catch what that sentence means, but I get it. Whoa, you're pretty aggressive. Restive, not depressed. Now I've got a rest. What? These two are so fucking weird. I like it though. It's like some much needed levity after. I mean, we've had jokes during this episode, or season, I should say, not the episode. But it's been pretty dour overall, pretty depressing. So these two are a nice change. What the heck's that? Finally, there was a rest break in a three-party conference over distribution between Rose, Meiju, and Butler. It had been a busy meeting, with each side laying out their claims without holding anything back. Yes, I think it was time very well spent. Time that couldn't be avoided if we are to lay bare each party's claims and the problems that will surely arise. It soothes my heart to hear you say that. I'm sorry, Meishui-san. Even though this was your first time, the debate got so heated. No problem. A meeting that doesn't get heated is no better than cold French fries, but... Sorry, I forgot that it's abnormal to enjoy cold French fries. Never tried them though. They're pretty good. Sorry. Not sorry. But if it's too hot, you can't put it in your mouth, right? Once you cool your head, it will chill to a suitable temperature. Furthermore, it was a good opportunity to gauge each other's enthusiasm. I agree. It was quite valuable simply for confirming the fact that a distribution union would be beneficial to all three parties. Richard, who left partway through the meeting, had been in high spirits ever since his return. Yeah, because he just fucking called an assassin. He had apparently been called away because of some urgent business with Cyrus. So it must have been some good news. After all, no one would be interested unless there was something in it for them as well. Exactly. If you're just talking about ideals, that brings it up to second rate. Add money into the mix, and it's first rate. Before I even realized it, you've become quite a formidable disputant, Rosa. I don't think I've ever heard that word before.
Not at all. I'm the same as you all. There are responsibilities I bear, and countrymen I must protect. If retreat is forbidden, then we can only fight on the same playing field.
Her gentle smile calmed the atmosphere. However, Stella was still struck dumb, at a loss for words. After all, until a few minutes ago, this place had been a war zone, with each group digging at the other with cold-blooded words. Come to think of it, when she was a lady of the evening, she had only ever encountered Butler and Meiji during fun banquets. Though Butler would sometimes raise his voice when complaining about his work, it was somebody else's problem. She just had to smile and urge him on. Tonight, Stella had seen combative expressions on Butler's and Meiji's faces that she had never seen before. On reflection, she had only ever chatted with them happily over drinks before, even though she had known that they had this side to them. It had been a considerable shock. It had made her feel pathetic. Rose had been doing this sort of thing all this time, constantly and without rest. Rose, the one Stella had sometimes looked down upon as being far less skilled at manipulation and consensus building than Amanda and herself. That was ridiculous. Rose had been courageous, composed, and capable of making truly impressive calculations as she fought in that debate. The others had long since realized that she was trying to pit America and China against each other, profiting from their fight while getting cheap deals from both. But despite that, she had to convince them that joining the discussion was to their own benefits. So, she had to increase those benefits so they would be sufficient for both America and China. Butler and Meiji had apparently colluded beforehand to some degree, so they didn't make concessions easily. However, American and Chinese expectations were slightly different. Meiji had nothing to lose if Rose's distribution association plan came to a standstill, but Butler was in a slightly different position. If Japanese society didn't fix the frailty of their distribution system, the entire city would eventually be swallowed up by Chinatown. The American occupying forces couldn't afford to overlook this Chinatown transformation. Before the meeting started, Rose had predicted that the American-Chinese collusion would lead to Meiji coming out aggressively, so she made a secret agreement with Butler. As a result, the meeting proceeded with Butler, who wanted a resolution somewhere between the other two parties' aims, acting as an intermediary. As all three parties made compromises to the others, they worked out certain points of mutual agreement. Stella had been unable to do anything but watch over this melee of words, stunned. It was decided that the problems raised in tonight's meeting would be sent as homework for each party, with details to be hammered out at the next meeting. However, they had been successful in reaching a broad outline of an agreement. Since Rose wanted to quickly build an association, removing the Japanese's vulnerability to outsiders disrupting their distribution system, I read that sentence expecting the next one to follow up on it in a different way. So if that came out entirely wrong, oh well, moving on. This happens to me so often where I'll start a sentence thinking it'll go one way, and then realize, oh no, I did that completely wrong. I'll just have to live with my mistakes. It was probably fair to chalk this up as a success for her. So what about the other two? Were they hanging their heads in exhaustion? Or were they shaking with uncontrollable anger, unable to get over their hatred of each other? I thought they were like pals this whole time. They'd always get along, at least outwardly. Not in the slightest. They were chatting peacefully, as though the formal talk was all over and done with. Preparations for a drinking party began immediately. There was even an after-party being set up. Stella had to take her hat off to Rose's vitality, as the latter smiled and asked everyone to have fun drinking for a change of pace. If you're overwhelmed by something like this, you'll have trouble. You'll have trouble later. What are you talking about? How rude. She tried to look tough, but she was apparently unable to fool her brother. Excuse me? I just saw something float by from the corner of my eye and I don't know what it was. Huh. I know there was a big mosquito in here, but it was like floating as if it was like a giant speck of dust. And now it's gone. Weird. I hope I'm gonna remember to edit this out. I might not. If so, I think I just saw a ghost. Okay. Moving on. She tried to look tough, but she was apparently unable to fool her brother. This is Rose's world. Is she going to keep doing this all the time? It is her belief that doing so is the responsibility of one who voices her ideals. However, her ideals are not something that can be accomplished alone in a single generation. I know that. That's why her frustration with her own insufficiency got caught in her throat. However, she bit it back and swallowed it down. She tightened her chest and let it burn out inside her. It's not like it's something she can do and I can't. It was just a sudden shock, so I was a little surprised. I'm fine now. You may have plenty of experience dealing with women, but this is your first time in a discussion with men, is it not? Is it? I don't think that would be that different, Richard, but okay. That's true, outside of the bedroom. But I understand now. I won't make a fool of myself like this again. Indeed. Let us stand at the front, along with Rose. Yeah. The trail to the future isn't blazed by any person. We all blaze it together. And that starts right now. I can't say I approve of your methods of negotiation. I was under the impression that I worked hard to gain the most benefit for our countrymen. Negotiations are a competition to see how you can get your opponent to sit in the chair you want, of their own free will. You negotiate violently, as if you were dragging your opponent down into a chair by force and crushing it underneath him. You weren't taught that while studying abroad, in what was once the British Empire. That was a weird sentence structure.
That's right. My friends in Europe were all intellectual and gentlemanly. When people like you negotiate the way you did, that just spreads the misconception that the Chinese are violent.
To demand double what you desire and force a deadlock. Then call it a draw, give up half, and gain exactly what you wanted. That is the most effective method of negotiation. Your method of dealing is exemplary, but not realistic. You must have more practical study.
Use your violent methods all you like in the criminal underworld. However, making deals for the Distribution Association is the job of my honest business. I say no thank you to underworld negotiation techniques. Violence isn't negotiation. It's just a human rights violation that tramples over your opponent. I hate the Mafia. What do you mean you're doing it for your countrymen? You make me sick.
Ooh, the little sister arrives with a bang. I should have brought my little sister from the States. If she were to show up, I bet she would look like Anja. And I think that would be really fun if she did show up, but... on the other hand, I also hope that she just gets to live happily with her family in this alternate universe. That would be much better. She's been through enough. Captain, pardon me for interrupting your chat. Huh? What is it? A secret? What could it be? When the report was whispered into Butler's ear, his joking face went immediately serious. I never heard anything about that. Damn it.
Captain, is something wrong?
Yeah. Pardon me, Rose-chan, Sela-chan, and Meishre-chan, too. A bit of urgent business just came up. Sorry, but I'll have to take my leave for the day.
That's a shame, Captain. I was hoping for a chance to strengthen our relationship.
Urgent business for the man in charge of maintaining public order. How foreboding. Did some drunks start fighting or something? If you left the matter in our hands, there would be no need to trouble yourself, Captain. Everyone's trying to meddle. I can't tell if it's like friendly meddling or... Well, in Richard's case, it's definitely not, but, you know. I feel like in Rose's case, it's just, you know, she genuinely wants to help. It's different. Meiji can go either way.
Captain, is there anything we can do to assist you?
It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. See you later.
I wonder what's gotten into him.
I imagine the mites of the city stirred up some nighttime disturbance with each other. In any event, it's nothing for you to trouble yourself with. Please leave all minor matters to us.
Really? Thanks, Richard-kun.
Yeah, you need a break, girl. Their information said that Davis would appear the following night. However, they had heard that he was a man with good instincts. It was possible he'd get an early start and show up tonight. On the other hand, it was hard to imagine that turning into a case that would force Butler to leave early at this hour. Could it be that Alan and Keith failed in their sniping, leading to a large-scale gunfight? That's like a worst case scenario thing. Doesn't seem very likely. Wayne, have you received word of any activity?
No, nothing.
I see. Then perhaps my fears were unfounded. As usual, I can't get rid of my habit of always supposing the worst. In actual fact, his fears were unfounded. Davis still hadn't shown up at his woman's hotel. Alan and Keith were still in sniping position, sitting still as they waited for their prey. After all, Butler had left early for a completely different reason. Concerning. The way that was phrased, don't like that.
Hey, Xiaolan. You shouldn't be up at this hour. I'm not a kid.
She glared at Mei Shui, threatening her as loudly as her hoarse voice would allow. Mei Shui couldn't really make out the words, and she sat there wondering if Xiaolan might be in a bad mood. Yeah, that's just her default, don't worry. That's a good girl, Xiaolan. You came in through the door instead of the window this time. That's not what Major sounds like normally, is it? Oh well, moving on. Oh? Xiaolan's whisper brought an instant change to Major's expression. However, it seemed more casual and amused than Butler's had been. After finishing her report, Xiaolan slipped away like a cat who had gotten bored with her game.
Don't tell me urgent business came up for you, too.
Not at all. I plan to continue relaxing here. Though I wonder how long you'll be able to relax. Uh-oh. Rose couldn't make out Chinese, so, as was his usual habit, Meiju had muttered to himself in that language. However, Stella just happened to hear. She could understand it. When he realized that his words to himself had been overheard, Meiju shrugged without any sign of embarrassment.
Meiju-san, what on earth is going on?
There was a sudden personnel change within the American military. Nothing more.
The American military? Is that what the captain's sudden business was about?
Something about an officer being sent from the GHQ for a special mission, with regards to the endless feuds within City 23. After all, there seems to be no end to the dark rumors that the City 23 Occupying Forces HQ has been colluding with a certain Japanese mafia. Of course, Primavera was only able to spar with the GDS in City 23 because of their corrupt relationship with the Occupying Forces HQ. However, if someone appeared and tried to clean up that corruption, it would affect not only Butler, but Primavera as well. During the Soy Sauce War, mafias within American military districts had caused an uproar by burning down storehouses in Chinese military districts. They didn't make significant cash arrangements with the GHQ through Butler beforehand, so it never led to an emergency, but maybe the disturbance had been too big after all. It's possible it led to someone in the GHQ getting off their fat asses. The man is Major Gabriel Kaburaya, excuse me. We don't know details, but considering that Captain Butler didn't hear of his arrival until after the fact, it's hard to imagine them being within the same faction.
Major? So, he's the captain's superior?
Yes. The Director General is waiting. He said he wished to discuss the future with you as soon as possible. Those geezers are probably worried about whether they'll be able to keep earning their pocket change. Please go on ahead. That was a loud beep from a car. Sorry. I'll be there soon. Oops. Butler would stop by his room first. He needed to be alone and reset his mind, if only for a few minutes. Sheesh. Those geezers are too jumpy. When Butler's superiors heard that a major had been dispatched from the GHQ as a special officer, they must have been horrified. They were afraid that someone on the inside had made an accusation of corruption, and that the officer was here to investigate. Their business had been silently acknowledged thanks to generous sharing with high GHQ officials. However, there were factions even within the GHQ. Each one was involved with corruption, and all tried to drag down opposing factions to have all of it, to have it all for themselves. It was possible that an opposing faction had sent this officer in search of a scandal to bring down their rival. During the last year or two, City 23 had gotten a bit too active. The nighttime disturbance that ended the war with Caleb had been a one-time deal, so they were able to cover it up. However, that high-wage policy had caused disturbances in the surrounding cities, and the soy sauce war had even sparked chaos in the Chinese districts. Also, when the soy sauce war was resolved, it became clear that many mafias in eastern Tokyo were cooperating. And this info had even reached those in charge of maintaining order in neighboring cities. The City 23 HQ, which was connected to Primavera, had been able to explain away these disturbances, but... well, it'll all work out. There's nothing you can't cover up in this world. I'll treat those GHQ old farts to plenty of hush money. After that, I just need to show them some data that just looks good on the surface, then ask about the major's preference in boobs. If I throw 4 or 5 pretty girls of the right bust size his way, he'll head home happy. I don't think it's gonna pan out that way. When he put his hand on the doorknob to his office, he sensed that someone was inside. He could hear classical music. Someone had started Butler's record player without asking. That record had been given to Butler by someone trying to brighten his mood. It never hurts to receive gifts that are less than bribes, but Butler never remembered who had given him what. It didn't suit his tastes, so it should have been collecting dust in a corner somewhere. Butler knocked on the door of his own office for the first time. Captain Philip Butler here. There was no answer. But he could tell that someone certainly was in there. It was probably the sound of humming. He must have been truly enjoying the classical music playing at full blast. Butler readied himself and opened the door. Classical music poured out. Even though it was his own office, that alone made it feel like an entirely different room. Pardon me, Major. So I told you someone with a new sprite would show up. And ruin everything. I told you. The Major, who was thin, tall, young, and apparently well-bred, listened happily to the music, with a wine glass in his hand. The opened bottle of wine was also something that had been offered to Butler by someone. It was supposedly high quality, so he had kept it at the bottom of his drawer, hoping to use it to bribe some wine lover someday. And I think that's where I will leave it off until next time. Because if we're introducing a new character now, and there's still the assassination with Davis, right? This episode is not wrapping up within the next 15 minutes. It's not happening. So I guess we'll find out who this mysterious guy is next time. Now, I will save. And then I'll be back next week with more, as usual. I say as usual as if I haven't just started, recording again. But you get it. You get it. You know what I mean. Okay. Well, then all that is left is for me to wrap things up. Starting by saying thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you had a good time. Again, we'll be back next week with more. That's on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Amsterdam time. And if you're away in the future, the next episode should already be out and ready to watch. I hope. Maybe not. If not, something terrible has happened, and sorry, I guess. But no, it'll be fine. All right. See you again next time. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a good next time without anything terrible happening. A good day, week. You know the drill by now. A good all of that. Okay, see you next time. Bye-bye.